Dukes, earls, viscounts, barons, and baronesses. What is all this? They're not just names and titles that sound elegant and attractive. They represent a whole social system that perfectly encapsulates life during the Regency era. Today, I will unravel the intricate social hierarchy that brings our favorite series to life and discover how it affects each of our characters in Bridgerton. Let's start at the top of the social pyramid: royalty. In Bridgerton, this role is played by none other than Queen Charlotte. When we talk about a queen, you can already imagine the power she wielded. With just the raise of an eyebrow, she could make or break reputations. Her approval was crucial for the debutantes of the season, and this wasn't just a whim of the writers. In real life, royal favor could dramatically change the destiny of an entire family. But Queen Charlotte isn't alone at the top. Although he appears briefly, we can't forget about Prince Friedrich of Prussia. As a member of foreign royalty, his rank is almost as high as the Queen's. Remember how all the matchmaking mothers went crazy when he appeared on the social scene? It was no wonder a prince was the dream of any ambitious debutante. Now, just below royalty, we have the dukes, the crème de la crème of the nobility. And this is where our dear Simon Basset, the Duke of Hastings, comes into play. Being a duke was no joke. They had vast lands, political power, and were addressed as Your Grace. Simon, with his title and his allure, was undoubtedly the most coveted bachelor in London. When Daphne married Simon, she didn't just gain a very handsome husband, she made a giant leap up the social ladder. Suddenly, she went from being the daughter of a Viscount to being one of the most powerful women in England. As the Duchess of Hastings, Daphne acquired a status that even her brother Anthony, as a Viscount, could not match. Not too shabby for the diamond of the season, right? Continuing with our noble scale, we find the Marquess. Do you remember Francesca's suitor in the third season? Yes, I'm talking about the Marquess of Samadani, whom Queen Charlotte wanted to pair her with. This title is positioned just below that of a duke and above that of an earl, so Samadani had the upper hand in this aspect, as marrying him would have made Francesca a marchioness, a highly enviable title. And speaking of Francesca, although we don't see much of her in the early seasons of Bridgerton, we do hear about the Earl of Kilmartin, John Sterling, who takes an interest in the youngest Bridgerton. Being an earl was no small thing. They had great estates, a seat in the House of Lords, and were considered excellent husband material. Francesca knew what she was doing when considering John, that's for sure. Now we arrive at our beloved Bridgertons. Anthony, as the eldest, holds the title of Viscount Bridgerton. Viscounts were like the upper middle class of the nobility, respected, with good status, but not as powerful as dukes or earls. Still, don't be mistaken, being a Viscount was a great honor. Anthony has the responsibility of managing the family estates and maintaining the family's social standing. Perhaps that's why he felt so pressured to find a suitable wife. When Kate Sharma marries Anthony, she becomes the new Viscountess Bridgerton. Now, we can't talk about the Bridgertons without mentioning Violet, the matriarch of the family. As the Dowager Viscountess, Violet maintains her status and respect in society. Her title allows her to remain an influential figure in social circles, despite her husband's death. But what about the other Bridgerton siblings? Benedict, Colin, Eloise, Francesca, Gregory, and Hyacinth don't have titles of their own, but their connection to a Viscount gives them a high social status. They are part of what was called the gentry, the upper class without a noble title. They weren't nobles in the strict sense, but they were definitely part of the high society. Moving a bit further down the scale, we have the barons, such as Sir Philip Crane, the future love interest of Eloise, and the well-known Featherington family. Lord Featherington, as a baron, holds the lowest rank among the titled nobility. Even so, his title grants him a seat in the House of Lords and some respect in society. However, the Featheringtons show us that even nobles could face financial problems. A title didn't always come with a great fortune, as we know from Portia Featherington's financial troubles. Speaking of Portia, the Baroness Featherington is a fascinating character. Despite her family's financial issues, she manages to keep up appearances and fight for her daughter's futures. And although it might sound a bit sexist, remember, we're in the Regency era, Her determination to secure good marriages for Prudence, Philippa, and Penelope shows us how crucial marriage was as a means of social and economic security for women of that time. Also, remember that the Featherington Baron title will now pass to the Bridgerton family in a way, as Colin and Penelope's eldest son will hold the title. And we can't forget Penelope Featherington, our dear Lady Whistledown. As the youngest daughter of a baron, Penelope doesn't have a title of her own, but her connection to the nobility gives her access to the most exclusive social circles. Marina Thompson is another interesting character. Although she doesn't have a title of her own, her family connections with the Featheringtons allow her to enter London's high society. But she does face challenges in this highly stratified world. Then we have Lady Danbury, one of the most fascinating characters in Bridgerton. By marriage, she would be a countess, and although we're talking about a woman who had little power in that era, we can't deny her influence in society. What can we say about this? Well, that power and respect in high society didn't always depend solely on noble rank or gender. Let's see, is there anyone else we're missing? We have the Mondrish family. Will Mondrish starts as a titleless boxer, but his friendship with the Duke of Hastings opens doors for him in society. And what a surprise it was when his son, Nicholas, inherits the title of Baron. That's how quickly things can change in the Regency era. What's interesting is that Bridgerton doesn't just show us the high nobility. We also see characters from lower classes, such as the servants of the great houses. Although they didn't have titles or social power, they were essential to the functioning of this world. In reality, they were the foundation of everything. Without them, there would be no one to govern. All of this helps us better understand the decisions and dilemmas faced by all the characters. But what did it really mean to have a noble title in the era of Bridgerton? It wasn't just for showing off at parties, although that counted too. Nobles had political responsibilities, like participating in the House of Lords. They also had to manage large estates, which was no easy task. Often, they acted as patrons of the arts and sciences. And of course, there were social expectations. They were expected to marry well, maintain the family's honor, and follow a strict code of etiquette. And while the story doesn't unfold exactly as it did in real life, it accurately depicts how each character navigates this complicated social system. Some, like Anthony, struggle to meet the expectations of their title. Others, like Eloise, constantly question social norms. And then we have characters like Penelope, who find ingenious ways to wield power and influence despite the limitations of their social position. Each one, in one way or another, seeks their place in the world, according to these social rules. But that's not all. Another interesting aspect is how the series shows the differences between old and new nobility. The Bridgertons, with their long history and Viscount title, represent traditional nobility. In contrast, the Mondrichs acquire their title suddenly. These differences often created tensions in the real Regency society, and Bridgerton does an excellent job of depicting these dynamics. Dynamics that traverse everything: money, education, and even seating arrangements at the table. Young noblemen like Anthony and his brothers would have been educated in prestigious schools and universities. The women, on the other hand, received their education at home, focusing on the skills needed to be a good wife and hostess. Can you imagine doing that in these times? Just so normalized? Well, Eloise's frustration with this system reflects the changes that were beginning to emerge in the society of that time. Now, why was it so important to be divided by classes? Yes, I'm going to sound a bit classist, but besides it being a matter of power, the way of dressing, speaking, and behaving in society were crucial markers of that status. Every detail, from the cut of a dress to the way of holding a teacup, could reveal a person's social position. And precisely that could tell you who to associate with to successfully climb your social position. Lastly, there were those who weren't lucky enough to be born into a high society family, but lived off their talents and skills. In Bridgerton, we have, for example, Madame Delacroix, who makes a living by making clothes for the wealthiest members of London. There's also Maria, the soprano with whom Anthony had an affair in the first season, and whom, despite loving, he couldn't marry due to their social differences. And just like these, there were many other people, the majority of the population to be honest, who who lived off their ventures and talents, such as merchants, tea and coffee house owners, editors and booksellers, lawyers, military personnel, artisans, farmers, among others. So yes, the world of Bridgerton is much more than pretty dresses and elegant balls. It's a complex social system where rank was everything, but where love, ambition, and ingenuity sometimes managed to triumph over social conventions. And maybe that's why we love this series so much. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this video and what other topics you'd like us to cover on the channel. Remember, the best way to support me is by leaving a like, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell. See you in the next video.